Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and I just got back from the new film Love Stalker. A guy in his mid-30s named Pete who bar hops and casually hooks up with women on his off time from his work. So like at night, he goes to the bars, picks up some chicks, and writes it down in his little journal. Until one day when he meets Stephanie, who he falls madly in love with. They have a relationship even though she is a relationship blogger. And unfortunately, the relationship goes sour. And then the film really takes a very dark turn and he becomes obsessed with her, starts stalking her and trying to win her back. Love Stalker at the beginning I wasn't really as into, and it felt like a standard romantic comedy. The cliche of like, oh, this player, then he meets this girl and his life turns around. This movie reminds me of how important a third act is. I find it interesting that when you look at a film and you look at a film's third act, the third act can do so much and complement and bring everything together if you do a third act right, and especially the way this film does the third act, it just shifts the whole movie. The character of Pete is one way, and then right when that third act hits, it's just like, he seemed off, but I didn't think he'd go to these extremes, and it makes you kind of question what you saw in the previous two acts. And it was an interesting twist on the romantic comedy genre. It gets really dark. It's like a huge tonal shift. It totally works. This was directed by two directors. The star of it, the guy who plays Pete, Matt Gleason, I guess, I'm gonna go with that, and B. Bowles McLean. I'm not good at pronouncing people's names. They did a good job directing this film because a tonal shift is a hard thing to do. It's supposed to feel abrupt, so they kind of have the luxury of that. They made this film in a way so that a tonal shift is acceptable and definitely part of the film and part of how he becomes kind of this stalker and goes crazy. And I think it was smart, but it also like makes this film so much more and so interesting. I was sent this movie by this other YouTuber, Sinram, and he has a cameo at the very end of the film. Very small cameo. You like blink if you miss him, but I saw him at the beginning. I was kind of like, yeah, I'll review this, okay. And when I was watching it, I was like, yeah, you know, I don't hate this, so I'm gonna keep going. I mean, I was gonna finish it regardless. It turned me around from being like, you know, this is okay, it's a small movie, they did what they could, you know, the sound's not great in a lot of places, the ADR is a little too obvious, but the third act turned me around like, I might recommend this to someone. I'm kind of surprised how much I liked it. It's a movie you really gotta stick with because it plays in the genre for a little bit. It plays in the kind of rom-com genre. It's a little more harsher. It's not How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, but it is playing in that genre, and it's falling into that genre very specifically, and then it's twisting it, but it waits to twist it. It's really smart that it waits to twist, because if you just did it initially or after the first act, the whole stalker element to it wouldn't be as surprising. But the fact that they wait, it's smart, and it shows patience on their part, a smart story structure that's really building to something. That I'm thinking about how important a third act is to film, just because this movie I think says a lot about it. And I liked the performances of the two leads from one of the directors, Matt Gleason, and the girl who played Stephanie, Rachel Chapman. Matt Gleason, I wouldn't be surprised if he has a radio show or something. He has like a radio voice. Even though he has this radio voice, he has kind of like this kind of contract movie star player look to him, especially with the 5 o'clock shadow. This movie is surprising because I think, you know, if you read about it and then you start watching it, you're like, this movie gets dark? Okay. I mean, this isn't gonna work. But it really does work, and I think it's a smart romantic comedy because it's really saying something with the genre, and it's twisting it, and it's being patient with its twist. This film wants you to think it's doing the thinking for you, but it's really not. It's just getting you to a certain place so it can have fun with you as an audience member. This is the kind of stuff that you want from a small movie that's not under studio constraints. You want a surprise, and this was a surprise for me. You know, I didn't know what to expect going in, but I was very happy with it. It's on Amazon On Demand. Apparently, I couldn't get this out in time to talk about how it was on Comcast On Demand, but it is on Amazon On Demand. I think you can buy the DVD. A cool romantic comedy at a time where like romantic comedies are such a dead genre. It's nice to see someone do something fun with the genre rather than, you know, follow suit. So if you've seen Love Stalker and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.